In this video, I sat down with Merch by Amazon seller Andrei Morant, who more than tripled his Merch by Amazon royalties in just 1 year with the help of Amazon ads. All right, Andrei, we got Andrei on the channel today. Andrei, thanks so much for coming on. It's great to have you here. Andrei posted in the group a week or so ago about his results in last year, 2021 versus 2020, and had some incredible results. So here to pick his brain a little bit and ask some questions about his success last year and advertising goals for this year and so forth. So Andrei, thanks so much for being on.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I think it'd be helpful. We just kind of jump right in. Maybe if you could just kind of give everybody an insight on kind of what your Amazon journey looked like and how you got started, how long you've been selling on Amazon, all that good stuff.
Okay, so I guess for me, I really was spending like way too much time playing video games, and that wasn't making me any money. So I kind of decided that I would take that time and figure out a way to make like some extra money online, like like a lot of people do.
Sure.
Did a lot of searching, YouTube videos and all that stuff, and basically came to the conclusion that there's not a whole lot unless you want to try to teach other people how to make money online, because that's pretty much what everybody's selling. So I just happened upon a POD thing, and I think it was something like Teespring or something, and this was like I think May 2016, something like that. And
Okay.
I had no idea how to do any of this. No Photoshop skills, no Illustrator skills, nothing like that. Never had done it before. And then I started using some rudimentary designer, like online designer thing. Decided I would start putting shirts on Teespring, which of course I never got any sales because you don't really get many unless you're advertising through Facebook. Then just happened upon, I don't know where it was. I don't know if it was a YouTube video or something that mentioned Merch by Amazon. And I was like, hey, this sounds really cool. And at that point, to get on the program, you had to send in an email, and it could be anywhere from 6 months to a year to get
Yep. Sure.
to get accepted. And back in the day, Chris Green was really like involved in it, and he had set up this webinar to where if you watched the webinar and submitted your email saying that you did watch it, then they would automatically approve you. So I got approved in like 6 days,
Wow.
which is ridiculous. And started my actual merch journey on September 1st, 2016 at tier 25.
Wow. So a little bit of a head start compared to these days.
Yeah, and actually I gave myself a hell of a head start because I bought my way to 500 immediately. I
Wow.
just bought 100 shirts because they were, I forget what the price was. I forgot what I spent. It was something, I don't know, just over $1,200, something like that.
Okay.
But it was September 1st, and you're coming into the fourth quarter, and Merch by Amazon was, basically a brand new thing. It had been 1 year. I think it started in 2015. And, people were telling me that's the wrong thing to do, and you don't do that. And I was like, no, I'm doing it. So, that fourth quarter, I ended up selling, I don't know how many shirts, but I made like $2,000. So, I went ahead and made my money back. And then I was set up for the next year to, just to start really focusing on it. So had to watch YouTube videos, teach myself how to use Photoshop and do all that stuff. I basically do all my own designs. I enjoy it. So that's
Very cool.
why I continue to do it. Did really well, say, 2017, was really surprised and, really pumped. And then I guess more and more competition came on it. And then I started just kind of pushing it to the back burner and all that. But have always continued to work on it. Never really left it completely. I forget, like I got tiered up to like 1,000, I think probably in July of 2017 or something like that, which was really cool. And then pretty steady up to then, but my sales every year were 2,500, something like that, not a huge amount. And then, the royalties were going down every year too. So
Sure.
you were making less and less and less. And it just, begins to be kind of almost not worth it. But like I said, I enjoyed doing it. So I kept doing it. And I mean, who doesn't like an extra $500 a month or $600 a month anyway? So
yeah, absolutely. It never hurts.
yeah. So again, it's either that playing video games or doing that. And so, I chose that instead. And then I dabbled in some advertising. I think, what year was that? I think it was 2019. And I didn't know what I was
had
doing.
like the code in the bottom that you had to like
register
or whatever it was back then.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, so I dabbled in that. Didn't know what I was doing. It was just doing auto ads and did it through the fourth quarter. I saw some results on it, but I wasn't entirely sure if the results had anything to do with the ads or it had to do with just fourth quarter because, everything is
just traffic's crazy.
Yeah. Way more traffic then. And then so the following year, I guess 2020, how 2020 was, it was kind of a,
crazy year.
Yeah, I don't want to cuss, but yeah. So
we can cut it out. We'll add some bleeps or something. That's okay.
But I had free time like everybody else because you weren't doing much. But then didn't really do any advertising. Kind of backed off of it because I didn't understand it, and I just like a lot of people, especially new people who get into it, they just think that they're wasting money doing it. And then I saw a post, I think January 2021 from Mark Shaggy. And he was showing his results just from January. And it was basically his sales were double what he spent on his ads. And there was a lot of people saying, that's crazy. You spend way too much money on ads. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you give me, say, $5,000 and I give you 10, I mean, would you not do that every day?
You'd find all the money you could. Like, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually got a lot of flack with that as well when earlier on in my merch career where I was posting some numbers and always got flack for how much I was spending. I was like, well, I mean, even if I'm losing money on ads, it's more money.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I'll always try to tell people and say, it's not what you spend on the ads or it's not the sales that you get from the ads directly. It's the culmination of everything. And the evidence is, I mean, for me, it's just right in my face. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it very much is an investment. And in my opinion, Amazon advertising is really unique in that fact versus other ad platforms where it's very much just the return on ad spend that you get and that's it. Where Amazon, that you not only do you have that return on ad spend, but you have a return in ranking as well. That increase in ranking where you get more organic traffic versus something like Facebook. You're not going to get more organic traffic just because you're spending more on ads. It just doesn't work that way.
No, Amazon absolutely does. Not. Yeah.
So very much
and look, if it's obvious, I mean, you go to Amazon to buy something, you don't go to Facebook to buy something. And so if you're going to put ads somewhere, you put them where the people are shopping.
Yeah, 100%. Like that buyer intent versus Facebook, you're not there whatsoever. That's the annoying side of things.
Right. Absolutely.
So you're in 2020. So how'd 2020 go? And then we'll get into 2021.
2020 was it was down from 2019, and I think it was down for everybody. I think in 2019 I did like 22,000 in sales. I don't know the total number of shirts that I sold. And 2020 I did 15,340. Total sales with 3,531. Okay. I average like 434 a sale. So most of my shirts that sell are kind of shirts that I've had up for quite a while. So I'm comfortable keeping the price at basically $19.99. Let's see, 2021. I started advertising. I think like right around February 1st, right after, because like I said, Mark had posted that screenshot of his January results, which are crazy January results.
Right,
really,
the slowest month of the year typically.
Yeah, and I was like, I got to get on this. So I opened up the ad platform again and started dabbling in that. And the clunky, bulky Amazon ads platform, especially for a beginner, is there's way too much clicking going on because you're moving from page to page to page to page just to do, these simple little tasks that should just be one clicks.
It was not designed for merch, the typical merch seller whatsoever.
Yeah,
versus
absolutely
like
not.
a FBA or something that maybe has
Where you have like
a
six
couple.
products.
Yeah,
or
right. Exactly. Like
Yeah.
6 products is like hardly anything for a merch seller. That's like 3 minutes of uploading.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was doing well, and but basically just running auto ads, and I was too scared really to do any negative keywords or negative products or anything, because I didn't understand it enough, especially like phrase, broad, and exact, and all that. And I didn't want to start just cutting out search terms that possibly could get me sales.
Sure.
And I still didn't know the let me say like how many clicks on some search term when should I turn it off? Or I didn't know. I didn't want to mess anything up, so I just kind of left them going. And something weird, and you probably experienced this, but I think it was like May 15th. There was some strange like algorithm change or something to where all of a sudden nothing was working, and a lot of people were mentioning something like something happened like that day. You could see your traffic from your ads, like impressions were down, sales were down. And then I got freaked out and did the rookie mistake of just archiving all my campaigns. Yeah. And so
it's a lesson to be learned. Hopefully just once. You'll do it one time.
Never do that. Yeah. So I basically had to start over in like I left it like about a week, and then I was like, what the hell am I doing? I went back and restarted all my campaigns. So essentially, I don't want to say all the success that I had from advertising was only in 6 months, but all of the ads that, that ran me through the fourth quarter were only, 5.5, 6 months old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that goes to show how quickly they can make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you end up doing in 2021 versus 2020 then?
So in 2021, royalties were $48,444.37.
So 48,000.
Yeah.
2020, you said it was about
15,340. Yeah.
So 300% increase year over year.
Yeah.
I think most people would take those numbers.
Yeah. Well, so my ad spend was 15, but
okay.
So that left me more than 100%.
Right. But after the ad spend cost, sure.
Right. Which if you don't take that, you got to be crazy. I mean, it just blew me away. I mean, I was thinking, maybe maybe 30,000, something like that, but nowhere near 50. I mean, I was real close to 50 with the UK and all that, but
sure,
I don't really focus on that too much.
U.S. market, pretty much. Yeah. Same here. I mean, it blows pretty much every other market away. And not saying that people shouldn't.
There's people who do really well in it, and I don't understand how they do it, but.
And I think that's really, knowing the audience and so forth. Yeah. And, us being in the United States probably helps us know the U.S. audience better. Just, it's all about creating a product that people want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's amazing. So is Merch by Amazon pretty much the only platform that you're selling on Amazon, or are you dabbling with any other KDP or seller?
I have Etsy, and my Etsy store, I think in 2019 did about 8,500 or something like that. This year I didn't focus on it at all this year. And most of my listings, they kind of come off after a while. Most of them came off. Yeah. And so most of them came off. And I think for most of the year, I had about 170 on there. And I did I'd say about 6,000.
Okay.
In royalties. Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
But
is it worth the customer service side of things? That's always turned me off, I guess, from Etsy is, or is it, some of these other platforms is you're much more involved with the customer versus Merch by Amazon. It's as hands off as you could possibly get.
Yeah. So another thing about Etsy, and like people give me hell for this, but I turn my store off December 8th, and I do that every year because all these other people who like December 9th and 12th and 15th, and all their customers, are emailing them and screaming at them and giving them, 1-star reviews because their stuff isn't showing up.
Sure.
And, their stores are getting shut down. And I'm like, look, this is just side money for me. And I understand if that's your only gig, but I'm not dealing with that headache,
You don't need another job to.
Yeah, absolutely. So
not during the holidays, especially, right?
Right. Absolutely. So, and even turning it off on December 8th, because I use Printful as my fulfillment.
Okay.
I had one shirt that they have a print facility in Canada, but they chose to use the one in the US to send to Canada, and it got ordered on the 8th and made it on the 23rd. I'm just like, please just let that one get there. That's the last one. But that's not for me, man. So I just focus on merch, 99.9% of the time.
Yeah, it's done well for you. And I mean, I think that speaks kind of that growth engine that comes with just Amazon and having those. You kind of brought up your best sellers, which in 2021 were your best sellers, some of your older listings as well.
Yeah.
Is that primarily?
Yeah. What I did was I went through with Productor and then sorted by review count, and then used review count to make ads for everything that had, over 1 or 2. I mean, if it had a review, pretty much I made an ad for it. But
that's a great way to start. That's what I'd recommend too for anyone just getting started with ads. You're not really sure, hey, what should I even start advertising for? That's perfect. Start with your best reviewed products.
Yeah.
Because that's like the holy grail, in my opinion, is reviews and the number of reviews. And until you reach, a certain threshold, your products just aren't going to rank as well. Customers aren't going to convert as well to have those higher rankings.
Right. And so, funny enough, so I was watching one of your live streams, and you were talking about like your bestseller, which I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but yeah, I'm not saying anything. But
if people knew, honestly, like it doesn't really matter. There's thousands of copycats already.
Right. So I mean, that's exactly what you were saying. And look, I'll be the first to admit that, hey, I've done that shirt, and there's a reason my shirt never got traction. And it's because of the amount of reviews that you had and the ads that you've been running to it, and the tailored ads, and it's
probably
just
ads on your product too to steal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's the advantage. It's just a boost that you can't get with just regular SEO. I mean, some people can. I'm not that good at SEO. So,
well, even that, you're kind of putting it in the hands of Amazon. And at the end of the day, Amazon only cares about what's selling. Right. So if ads are selling, that's going to still boost it. And you're getting in front of customers. And with how many products are now on merch, I don't even know how many. There's got to be 50 million plus t-shirts.
It's insane. I mean, years ago, I was boggled by how many it had to be on there, but today I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and every move they've made that just kind of speaks to kind of the direction Amazon's going, at least in my opinion. Where they've recently gone through and tiered tons of people up. The recent change where how they changed how they count, like what your tier is, where it's now on unique designs versus total number of products. That increased it by like 64 times overnight.
I wish they would have let me tier it before they did that.
Same.
Yeah. Because I'm actually like, I think 2 years ago I had like 18,000 live designs or something like that. I was just a design machine, just putting things out. Because every product counted as a design as well. Yep. So I'm on tier 20,000, and I was at something like, I forget, I was like 2,000 sales away from being able to tier up, and I had my threshold over 80%. and then they decided to change the whole thing.
Yeah,
And
we'll
so,
have to see. I don't know that like there's been enough time to see kind of what the direction, which they've never really shared,
right,
how the tier up system works. So this is all speculation. You have your 80% of slots filled and
right,
100%
right.
of sales. Like that's been, it seems to have been the case historically, but we really don't know what that's going to look like going forward with this
Sure.
new change. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see kind of what
Well,
that
so
looks like.
and also a thing that it doesn't really matter to me anymore because I've got, what do I have, 4,100 designs, and I've got 20,000 design slots, and design slots aren't as important to me anymore with the ads because you're not just firing in the dark now. You can make an ad. I'm a design, that is good, and run ads to it and tailor that and get that momentum. I'm not so focused on um, the number of things that I upload. I mean, this year I've uploaded the least amount that I ever have. I'd say I've maybe three or 400 this year,
Okay.
and a decent amount of them have gotten traction just through running ads. Everything I uploaded this year, I ran an ad to.
Okay.
Uh,
How were you
unless
running ads to that? Were you doing like a single async type campaign or more of a lottery
yeah,
campaign?
so I never did a lottery campaign until like mid-November, which is
Okay.
probably a mistake to wait that long. But I didn't really know anything about it, and I think I saw, um, something in some of the Facebook groups talking about it, and then ran it. One of the hard parts about that is one of my big niches is the beer niche, and so you can't really run ads to that. So
That's true.
so I I have to export all my products and then go through the Excel sheet and delete each one individually. And of course, you miss them, And so I had something like, I forget, 24. Um, I don't want to say strikes, but they just said, "Hey, this
Yeah,
is
like were they ineligible or whatever?
yeah,
Which
yeah,
I don't know. I guess in my opinion, and take this with a grain of salt, of course, because Amazon's such a black
yes,
box.
right,
But
right,
I don't think they're as harsh on what those strikes is like compared to like a merch by Amazon
right,
rejection for sure. I don't think they're going to close your account. Like you're giving them money, and they want you to
yeah,
keep giving them money.
yeah. But
I wouldn't go crazy. I would
yeah,
still do like your due diligence, kind of what
right,
you're
right, right,
doing.
right.
And I can say we do have some things on the roadmap to help with that kind
Okay,
of
good.
thing.
Yeah,
So no dates or anything yet, but yeah, that's definitely a focus because it's I'm in there every day too, and I have these same kind of challenges. So it's something we pain points I feel as well that we want
right.
to tackle. So just a heads up on that. So
Good. Can't wait.
yeah. So as far as like, so you kind of mentioned how many products you have. Would you say most of your sales come from just a handful of products, or is that kind of more evenly distributed across kind of your whole product line?
Well, so in Q4, 60 products made 80% of my sales.
Okay.
And like I said, I have 41, well, not products. I have 18,610 live products, but almost all of them are anything that sells really is basically a standard tee. The other products don't really sell that much. I have a few hoodies that do pretty well, but
Okay.
pretty much everything's a standard tee. And like I said, 60 of them made 80% of the royalties in Q4, which is, I mean, that's good for advertising because it's a little bit easier to
It
control.
is.
Yeah.
That's another good point to bring up. I think some people are intimidated as well. Well, I have 20,000 products or whatever that number is. Like, how could I possibly create an ad for every single one? Like, just think of the management of that.
Right.
And don't. Like, that's like as simple as that. Is like, don't focus on your top sellers, the 80/20 rule.
Right.
Start with your best sellers or best reviewed products, your most
Hmm.
mature products, and just start going down the list, like as you have the time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the lottery campaign works really well for that as well because you can just throw everything in there and you just say, "Hey, look, I got ads for everything now." But then you just focus on your top sellers, and then when you start getting relatively consistent sales from the lottery campaign from something that you hadn't sold in a year or two, then hey, maybe that's a good idea to grab that and start running ads to that specifically.
Have you seen any? And maybe I'll just quickly, for anybody that's watching this that isn't familiar with the lottery campaign, I'll link a YouTube video that we did previously on just kind of what a lottery campaign is. But just so you're aware, as we're talking about, it's just a single campaign with one ad group in it. You just put every single one of your products, every single one of your ASINs in a single ad group, and you just start with low bids and you kind of increase those slowly over time. But the idea there is just to kind of get those cheap clicks and impressions across your entire product line. And they work really well in my experience, and from the experience I've heard from a lot of other people. Have you had any surprises from lottery campaigns that you just didn't expect? I know you just mentioned some that sold from a couple years ago.
Yeah, well, I'm really surprised that anything sells at a 5-cent bid. And so when I heard about the lottery campaign, people were doing 5-cent bids, and I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like, yes, I mean, I'm not going to spend much, so what's the risk? And then consistently, it's just pumping in things, and it is funny. I don't check my lottery campaign that much, but just looking at, like, say, daily sales, there's stuff on there that's like, a surprise. It's like, really?
Forgot about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I love it. I will sort by, sales, let's say, I don't know, every week or something, and check out something that is selling a lot, and move that to the promotions format. And
okay, like more of its own single ASIN campaign, a little more focused on that. Mm-hmm. Okay, which is a great way. That's a great point with lottery campaigns, is they act not just to like get sales really cheaply, which one of my favorite things is just going through the ads within a lottery campaign and seeing like a 0.005% ACOS, which is like, it's like free money practically.
I know, it's ridiculous.
But using it as like product harvesting to determine what ads to run. So not only like going by your best sellers, but just to be able to pick up and say, hey, this could be onto something, or this product could have some opportunity here for additional sales if we pump a little more ads or a little more ad spend into it with higher bids and so forth, which you don't want to do necessarily, and you don't want to crank up your bids too much on a lottery campaign, since that applies to everything.
I've never gone above 5 cents, and it's just because there's so many ads in there. It just scares me a little bit. So
just 1 or 2 cents at a time. That's honestly that's the approach I take. I start with like 4 or 5 cents, and just like every 5-7 days, and this one's doing pretty well, let's bump that up like 1 or 2 cents, and we'll play it by ear. And so worth experimenting with. You might be surprised, but
so the funny thing is I've never opened them up really that much. So I've gone into the ad groups and I've just sorted. I never even realized that I can just bump up each individual one the bid. So you just gave me a great idea. I just like blanket bid everything at 5 cents and just left it at that. Is it possible?
Within a lottery campaign, the bid does apply to every ad, because it's set at the ad group level. So anything within a single ad group with an automatic campaign.
Right.
Well, I guess manual too. Like the targeting is done at the ad group level. So if you have a 5 cent bid and you got 1,000 ads in it, all 1,000 of those ads are going to have that 5 cent.
I had that 5 cent bid. Okay, that's it. Yep. That's what I thought. Yeah.
But that's why we pull those out too, to kind of put in their own campaign, so you can.
Right.
You have that more focused. There's some other reasons too, like your search terms your search term reports. So seeing what a customer typed in and clicked on and bought. With a lottery campaign, or any campaign that has multiple ads in it, you can't tie that search term to what that ad was or what the product was. I mean, you can make some like assumptions, like if you're like really paying attention, hey, that sold, and that.
Or if you only made one sale that day.
Yeah, right, exactly. Hopefully, like we want to scale this up to, we're doing dozens and dozens, of course. So it's really hard to make that connection. Where if you only have one ad in a campaign, well, every search term from that campaign is obviously going to that specific ad. But cool. So as far as with coming out of Q4, and kind of like, obviously Q4 is like a huge deal for, I'd say, majority of sellers, anybody selling, any kind of gift, or pretty much everybody. What was the biggest challenge you would say you faced during Q4 and achieving the success you did? And what would you say your biggest takeaways were to bring into this year's Q4?
I really think what scared me was the ad spend, how quickly it ramps up. It's very easy to shoot yourself in the foot by just like blanket lowering your bids because you see your spend going up so quickly. I think I lost quite a few sales doing that, and it's a rookie move. And I think most people kind of, when they see that happening, they kind of have the same reaction. When you're playing with the ads so much, I think it kind of messes up the algorithm a little bit. And if I would have left them alone, I think I would have probably increased sales a pretty good amount. I'm trying to think of when I started messing with them. It was probably about a week before Black Friday, because I could just see it ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. And I was so worried about how much I was spending. I was still making money, and I don't think I was doubling what I spent. But say I spent 200 on ads, I was selling like 375 in royalties, something like that. And still, we had this conversation earlier, I should be trading that all day, every day, but you still have that, like you look at it at 8 o'clock and your ad spend is this much and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to go to bed, and then wake up and say that I spent $700 or something like that. And then you end up losing money. But
you got to stay up till 2 a.m. Well, you're in Central Time as well, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it's 2 a.m.,
right.
Which is when kind of the new day starts over new budgets. But
yeah. Well, I get up at 4. So
Oof.
I don't stay up till 2. I used to stay up and check my sales, on my phone all the time. But yeah, man, it's let the ads do what they do, and the algorithm typically will figure it out as long as you don't mess with it so much. And I think that was the hardest thing for me to do, is just kind of just let it ride. Right after Black Friday, I was just kind of like, look, you know what? I've set them up, and I'm just kind of going to leave them alone, let them do their thing. And it was crazy.
It's kind of amazing if anybody's watching and hasn't really experienced a Q4, especially with products that are ranking a little more mature, that have that sales potential. I mean, it's a massive increase. I don't know what you saw as far as a Q4 increase or versus kind of like normal months, but for myself, it was probably around 6 or 7 times what I would spend in a normal month in that 30-day window from Black Friday to that week before Christmas.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember my ad spend for, say, that time frame. I think it was probably around $4,000, something like that.
Okay.
But my royalties I did like 11.5 for December, which is by far my best month ever, and almost 8 in November.
That's a big milestone. First 10,000 royalty month.
Yeah. So I think it was 2020, Q4 2020, like December 10th or something like that. I had a 97 sale day, and you know how that goes. You see the 96
and 100.
Yeah, and
you 100.
I'm getting 100, and then you don't, and it's like, oh, come on.
You didn't go in and buy 3 or 4 more shirts.
No.
I mean, you already bought 1,000.
I don't want that kind
or
of
100 shirts.
Yeah. But so and then after that, it never quite got there, and I was like, man, really, I really wanted that 100-day, and so
you gotta wait till next year, more than likely, just the way the season goes. Oh man.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so like, I got my 100-day pretty quick this year. In Q4, I think I don't know when it was. It was before Black Friday, and I was just like, yes, you're just like, yes. And then like first week in December, I was having like 200 days, like,
wow,
relatively frequently, and I was just like, oh, this is great. And where's my 300, and all that. I didn't get that.
Yeah, what's the next milestone?
But still, it's coming, Yeah. And so my highest month ever was, I think it was actually December 2018, which was a great year, and I think we royalties were higher at that point, and I had like that December was like $6,700 in royalties. It was fantastic. This November, like I said, I think it was like 7,500, and then almost 12,000 for this December. So, extremely happy
beer
with
money.
that. Yeah, I'm trying to cut down on that.
I don't know if you're doing. Yeah. Where are you located at, by the way?
Houston.
Houston. Okay, I'm on the other opposite end in Wisconsin. Both good beer areas. So.
Where in Wisconsin?
Madison.
Madison. I played a DJ'd a New Year's Eve party there in, I think it was 2001.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Where at?
It was at some college campus.
UW?
Man, I don't know. It was, how long ago?
That's the college, I guess. There's a couple other ones.
It probably was.
Okay.
It was really cold.
Yeah, we just got out of some cold. Today it was 40 degrees, and it felt like a heat wave after some like negative 20-degree weather the last few days. So you probably don't get much of that down there, but
no, not too much.
We live for the summers here, but
yeah, I'm sure you do, and the beer.
Yeah, and the cheese, yes, yeah. All the stereotypes you've heard are 100% true. So, congratulations on the Q4. It sounds like it was everything you could have possibly wanted with it.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you think having that success this past Q4 is going to have on your sales this year?
So, like everybody who's running ads, or most people who are running ads, we all turned them off right around the same day. Not turned them off, but turned them down.
Yes, I'm glad you caught. Yes.
Yeah.
No archiving.
Yeah, no archiving, no turning them off. One thing I do want to say, I really wish I had downloaded a bulk Excel file from the Amazon platform before I made all those changes. Because I think that would really help me get them back to where I want them to be again. Because
that's interesting. So that just kind of gave me an idea. I wonder if like we might be able to do something like that, like take snapshots. I don't know. I don't want to like throw out anything.
Sure.
Tom's like cursing at me. I was like,
yeah,
we can't.
Shut up, man. Right.
But one thing you can do so you kind of bring up a good point, because you can't go back within the Amazon ad console. You can't go back to last holiday season and see what's like, well, what was I, what were the search terms working and how much was I, or the CPCs on those is probably the metric you'd be looking at to
absolutely.
get an idea. Unless you're downloading those reports and saving them, and like who does that? But you're a Mershar user, and you've been with us for quite some time now, where we do save that data, so that all of the data that you have this year, this holiday season, you'll be able to go come October, probably when you start thinking about your Q4 holiday ads. You can go back and look at this year and see, hey, what are these CPCs, and use that.
Right.
So that does give me some ideas for
what might actually be a good idea is to maybe, and this is just for people, doing their ads, just on the ad console, maybe, I don't know, download an entire one for like just before Q4. So before you start ramping up your bids and your ad spend and something like that, just because I have no idea what I had things at, and going back, I think I have like 1,000 ads, and I started kind of working on them, really just kind of moving them around portfolios and making a bunch of new promotions and stuff. Just after Christmas, when I was at home during kind of Christmas break. And really wish I had that data.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely some things I think we could implement by next holiday season for sure. That could definitely be helpful. So that gives me some ideas. So this is really helpful for our side of things. And that's what I mean. I mean, I'm a seller myself, but I mean, I'm only can come up with so many things, and there's a lot of things I don't think of. So having these conversations with people using
Yeah.
your software, just advertisers in general, just having that experience and pain points that we run into. I mean,
Well,
that's
when
the whole
when
goal.
you have all of us poking around in it, and of
Hmm.
course, people are going to come up with different ideas and stuff. And yeah, it's great that we can just bring those ideas to you in the Facebook group. And yeah, we can all
Yeah,
bounce them
and
off each other.
we try to implement what we can. We have a vision, of course, of what we want to
Yeah.
do, so we can't like do everything, or it might kind of interfere with some things. But yeah, we definitely take feedback very seriously,
Hmm.
and I'm sure you've seen because you were part of our beta when
Yeah.
we initially launched, and I'm sure you've seen kind of how much has changed just in that short
Yeah,
amount of
absolutely.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Every
yeah,
new
we
thing, I'm just like, this is fantastic, man. And it's
so,
funny because every new thing is like, oh, this is exactly what I was just thinking about like a few days ago.
oh,
Because
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
I love hearing that.
Let's get, I guess, back to the original question
Yeah, yeah.
before
It's
I rant off
so yeah.
on
So
that.
what do you think is going to happen this year because of your Q4 sales, or what kind of impact do you think that's going to have?
So, January 2021, my total sales were like 284. Right now, I'm hovering around 175 per 7 days, and that's basically with no ads running. They're
Wow.
running, but they're running with not much spend going on. So, it's
What do you think you'd attribute that to?
it's got to be sales rank.
From products that sold during Q4, and you said
Yeah,
you started lottery campaigns really recently.
yeah.
So products that are probably first time sellers, I would imagine, that never sold before.
No, most of it is. I think just most of my it's most of my best sellers, but they're selling more. And so
Okay.
so like last year, I would have seven, 6, 7 sales a day or something like that in January, and I was just like, well, it's January. That's
Sure.
just kind of how it goes. Um, but I think running the ads the whole year, even though I did stop them halfway through the year and restart them. I think the sales rank and obviously the reviews that I've gained
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
have,
That's the other thing I was going to mention
yeah,
because
and,
it's kind of
and
a
the algorithm learns how to sell your stuff, and so the more you sell it, the better it gets at selling it, and so that's it's got to be what's happening, and um, yeah, I mean, I'm super happy with how January is going, and a lot of people are complaining, which they always do, but
they're not
it's
running ads, I bet.
yeah, probably not. And look, I mean, they may be, and they may be losing money, but you have to realize that this is where you start, and this is where you build it.
It's a learning tax too. I mean, everybody's gonna lose money, but I think the way to look at it, and I think you did very early on, is as an investment. Is this you're investing money not just to learn the how advertising works, but just investing in the products themselves
Uh,
because you don't know what's going to work. I don't know what search terms are
sure.
going to sell for this product. I've been
Yeah.
surprised a ton. It's like this search term like got a sale for this product. Like what?
Yeah, I have some of those things that I was looking at yesterday. I was like, I have no idea like how this is even related at all, but still, it moved it from my auto through promotions to testing and performance, and I'm like, why? I don't want it there, but
If it's selling, that's like at the end of the day, that's
yeah, yeah,
really all that matters. It doesn't
right,
matter
right,
if
right.
it's relevant. It's relevant enough, at least customers are, it means they're typing that in and it's, hey, this could work with, maybe it's a complementary product or
Yeah,
whatever it
yeah.
is.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so I'd imagine like with the success you're already having year over year this January, that's just going to kind of continue every month versus last year.
Yeah, yeah, it will. And I'm just, one thing I do want to mention is people again with advertising, people aren't treating this like a business, and so but when they're complaining about it, typically they're not treating it like a business, and they say, well, I'm not going to advertise. And I'm like, well, what business doesn't advertise? You know?
I love that you said that because that's I've had those same exact thoughts through because I'm very early on. I mean, I've always treated this as a business. I've outsourced things, pretty much
Yeah.
everything since the beginning
Hmm.
because it is a business. It's an investment. I've sacrificed profits to grow this business.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes people new to this do make.
Yeah.
Is not having that investment. They want the car payment money coming in, the mortgage payment.
Right.
They're not putting that back into the business.
Well, and so the thing is that I get it. They're looking at it like a car payment, but how come it can't be an everything payment?
Yeah.
I mean, if you treat it right,
quit your job payment kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. I love that you brought that up. I 100% agree with that. You've kind of touched on some of the campaign structures of how you structure your different campaigns. So you're doing the lottery campaign. Is there anything special you do with that? It's just kind of the standard lottery campaign, everything all in one, keeping it nice and easy.
Yeah.
And then
I spend so I didn't know anything about campaign structure until I watched your campaign structuring video using promotions, the first one.
Okay.
And because I told you earlier, I was worried about, I don't know what to take, where to put it, and how to make ads, why I would do an exact or a broad or anything like that. I didn't know any of that stuff. Like I said, I was just running auto ads, but the campaign structure that you explained in the promotions video really made everything clear. And anytime anybody asks a question in the Merch Jar user group, hey, how do I structure my campaign? I always just post that video. I'm like, just do this.
There's a more update. One of the lives I did, which the whole live didn't get posted. It was exclusively for the Amazon Ads University Facebook group, which there'll be links in the description for everybody watching this. But I pulled out the section where I did talk about the updated campaign structure, which is really similar, but kind of added in some new features with Merch Jar, like the product,
the products and stuff. Yeah.
So I'll link that video. But I do have a slide I'll just pull up to kind of, so this doesn't show like the rules and so forth, but this is kind of what we're talking about. Maybe I'll make this full screen real quick, but we got our lottery campaigns where how I mentioned, it's kind of your product harvesting, and then we're putting them in your automatic campaigns with just that single ASIN. And then we have our testing campaign and then our performance campaign. So everything, it's kind of like a funnel where everything moves from the lottery campaign to automatic testing performance. And you have mentioned these each of these different types of campaigns. So you're using pretty much this structure.
Yeah. And it's time consuming to do it, obviously, but it's way less time consuming than building all these things and then going through every day and transferring each keyword.
I used to do that.
Yeah, thankfully I didn't. I think maybe I did it a few times, but
it's a full-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see how you could manage. I don't know. What, 20 a day? I mean, it's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and to your point with it is time consuming even within. I mean, the Merch Jar software, it is designed to facilitate this. It automates kind of that whole process of adding keywords from one campaign to another, based on their performance. So the ones that sell, and the ones that don't sell, it gets rid of them too. So you're not wasting money. So it kind of does all that, and it is time consuming to set up. It's probably our biggest pain point in feedback that we get. So we're definitely like aware of it, and it's a pain point for me too.
But it would be the pain point even if you weren't using the software, because typically you should be doing that yourself. So it's not a pain point within Merch Jar. It's a pain point with just in the entire platform.
That's a good way to look at it. I like the optimism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we do have some plans to kind of like facilitate that and kind of be able to apply these different things to all your different campaigns and ones. There's definitely some challenges with it. So it's very much on our radar. So yeah, be on the lookout for some ways to make that a little bit easier. But it's so huge pain point.
Yeah.
How much time would you say you spend managing your campaigns, and how often are you jumping into Ad Console or Merch Jar and kind of optimizing bids, or what's that kind of cadence look like for you?
Like I said earlier, I wake up around 4 a.m, and it just seems to be getting earlier and earlier every day, and it's just because I'm so focused on this. I just come downstairs and I get right into it, and I have a day job, so I work about 3 hours in the morning and then go to work. And I come back, and I don't typically work much after work. Just kind of relax and enjoy the family. But then on the weekends, I'll spend, probably wake up at 5 and then work till,
Sleep in a little bit. So
yeah, it's a tiny bit if the dog lets me. And then typically work till about 1 or 2, but that's normally a mixture of product research,
okay.
ads, designing, that
So
sort of
yeah, this isn't all like I'm just doing all my ads and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but I mean, like during the week, it's mainly ads. But again, so I'm relatively new to it. Like I said, I've only been doing it a year, which sounds like a long time, but it really isn't. And especially when, like I said, I have close to 1,000 ads, and that's a lot of data that you get constantly. And so there's so much to look at that you're never finished looking at it.
Well, it's
So
also like the seasonality too. You almost need to learn just, well, how does the seasonality,
yeah,
affect your advertising? So you kind of have like 1 year under your belt now with ads. And
right,
then this next year you'll be able to compare it to the last year. Is like, okay, is there any like patterns now?
right.
But yeah, there's always more to do. There's always more to do with advertising, and so I don't want to like scare anybody off. And I was like, well, I don't got time for that. Why, I'm not going to run ads. You don't have to put in a ton of time into this. You can, and there is benefits. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. I mean, I don't know, like diminishing returns a little bit depending on kind of where you're focusing at, but
Well,
yeah,
there's another thing. Like, so what we talked about earlier, like 60 of my products made 80% of my royalties. So it, potentially I could be wasting time, but I'm down here working anyway. And so I'm making ads for other things and other things, because
yeah.
I want other things to gain the sales rank that those 60 products have. And now, I could be fine if I just said, all right, look, I'm just going to have my ads for my 60 products that are doing, 80% of the load. And then that would make it a lot easier. And I'd still do pretty well. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to do that?
I do. I'm kind of like on the lazier side of advertising. I'll be honest. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I built
Yeah.
this
But I mean, you have
software.
close to 1 million ads, don't you?
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
But it's within lottery campaigns. I focus on my best selling products.
Yeah.
And that's why I would say to anybody that is like, well, I don't want to spend like all this time. Is you don't have to. The more time you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. And Andre, I'm sure you're gonna kind of the fruits of your labor are gonna become very apparent over time, just because of all the time you're putting into it and all these additional products you're focusing on.
The reason I'm putting so much time into it is because of the results I'm getting, and that's exciting. And then again, that's just like, hey, man, I'm just the more you put into it, typically the more you get out of it. Now, obviously, potentially there could be a point to where I'm just advertising and building promotions for things that aren't selling, which is obviously that could be a huge waste of time. But I'm not there yet. So what I've done after Christmas and in through the new year is been building the promotion structure for my best sellers through Q4. And basically that's it, because like I said, it is time consuming, but not on the March Jar side. It's just building each individual ad.
Yeah. And I think you're taking the right approach. And it's kind of the same way as like to just even deciding what you start to advertise, like with building these promotions and stuff. Same kind of thing. Just start with what's selling. Like whatever time you have, do that. Like just start at the top and work your way down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So structure that we've talked about. And again, I'll link that in the description, so you'll be able to build the exact same structure. And even if you're not using Merchjar, which you can check it out. It's 30 days. It's free to try for 30 days. No credit card required, so you can see if it's right for you. But even if you're not,
it's amazingly
Merchjar,
cheap, by the way, too.
Should we raise prices? Is that where no, it's our pricing is not anytime soon. So this is the lowest price. I mean, down the road, I'm sure we will, but anybody that gets in now will never raise your price for you. So you're still on our beta pricing, which is the cheapest we ever offered, and then we came out with our launch pricing. And I'm sure down the road at some point we will raise pricing. So get in now, everybody. If you want to get the absolute cheapest pricing we'll have, little sense of urgency to throw in there. But yeah, even if you're not using the software though, and you're just getting started, you don't have the budget or whatever that looks like, you're only spending 10, 15, $20 a month on ads, that's
Right.
fine. You can start with that. You can set up these promotion structures, and the rules in that video you can still do. You'll have to do it manually, so it's going to be a little bit more time consuming than just kind of a one-off setup, and then it's automated after that. You'll have to go in and, weekly or whatever, move your search terms from one ad group to another. But you can do that, and that's how I started. That's how a lot of people start until it becomes too much and you need a software solution, and that's where Merchjar comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share any best practices you have when it comes to SEO for your listings and how that impacts or relates to your advertising?
Unfortunately, I'm very lazy with SEO. I always try to get the most relevant long tail keyword in the title, and then just come up with a saying. It's really hard. Everything becomes so formulaic with this because you end up kind of creating the same paragraph with just different keywords placed in different places. Most of my listings pretty much have the same structure. Like I said, I've really been doing like the same brand name pretty much the entire year, which I know a lot of people are like, don't do that. But I was like, well, again, I'm not real worried about copycats because of the ads. And then if I can get the title and a long tail keyword, or if I can get the wording of the shirt and a long tail keyword in the title, then I'll do that. Like I said, I pretty much just use one brand name, and then I'll
do you
go
find
through.
that I would say like auto ads, if it's like a new product, do you still find that it targets search terms that don't contain the keywords in your title?
I haven't really run into a whole lot of that. Like I said earlier, I've noticed in the last few days that there's two particular shirts that have product title and two bullet points full of keywords and stuff, and like they're just targeting these random things. And I don't know if it's just like a weird glitch in the ad and I need to like just turn that ad off and do another one. I don't really notice much of that, like just like out of left field things. Most things seem to be pretty relevant.
And yeah, I think that speaks to just the algorithm itself is like it's pretty good. I know there's some I don't know, where people that think like, oh, it's an auto ad, so it's Amazon's not gonna like that. How's that work? And so manual's the only way to go. There's kind of like a, I don't know, pride thing almost. Like I'm setting up manual ads and those work best. But in my experience, maybe you can speak to this too, is auto ads work really well. Like the algorithm is pretty smart with
they do.
knowing their customers and who's gonna buy, and getting you sales for at a rate that's profitable or at least break even in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and I think another thing that people forget is that Amazon makes money when they sell something. So they want to sell it. They're not just taking money from, I mean, they're taking money,
Sometimes
but they also, right, but they also want to sell the stuff because they make money then too,
Yeah, 100%. I mentioned that earlier, is that Amazon only cares about selling stuff. They don't care about anything else.
Right.
Selling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of talked about Merchjar, and you've been with us since our beta, kind of how it's kind of helped you and saved you time. Do you have a favorite Merchjar feature? I feel like I know.
Promotions.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to using recipes more. So
we got some work to do on them. Like just straight up, it's a pretty brand new feature, but it's got a lot of potential with it. We're really excited about what it's going to bring to the table once we get some tweaks in. I'm even waiting myself to really get recipes going. I do a couple, but there's some big changes coming up that are going to make them a lot more flexible to use, as well as just easier to use with our recipe world. If you've seen that, where you can
I have
download recipes from other users. And I'll mention it here too. We're actually running a competition, if you will, through the end of the year end of the month, where anyone that submits a recipe to us, I'll link that to where you can submit them, and we publish it. So we're going to do like a review, just make sure it's like a recipe that actually functions and isn't like a duplicate. We'll give you a bonus coins, which is ad spend. It's $500 in ad spend towards your subscription cost. And the person that submits the recipes that we like the most, kind of unique and well documented, we're going to give $25,000 in coin, or 25,000 in coins, which is $25,000 in ad spend to use towards your account. So we'll be doing that after the end of this month. So just want to plug that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot on the way.
That's cool. Yeah, it's for me right now. It's hard to use recipes because there's so little traffic that I don't want the recipes to start triggering things based on impressions that I'm not getting and start raising bids to things. So I have a few, but they're turned off right now. And
Okay.
I think actually both of them I downloaded from Recipe World and slightly edited them, but I'm waiting till I start getting a little bit more traffic. I still haven't really raised my bids that much after the end of Q4, but
Gotcha.
I'm kind of slowly ramping that up.
Yeah, same boat, and that's why I'd recommend everybody just kind of like, and that's just kind of a best practice in general, is just making small incremental changes. We're not waiting, a month between optimizations, and now I'm going to rate, double my bids or anything.
Right.
From what I've seen with the Amazon algorithm, it responds really well to very small, frequent changes. The more frequent you can do them, it responds very well to that. So, changing it a penny per day versus, 10 cents in a week seems to respond to that a little bit more. Just kind of those granular changes. So for those that are just getting started with Amazon ads for the first time, what advice would you give them, or what would you do different if you were starting all over again?
Build a naming structure for your ads and use tags in your naming structure. And I think you mentioned something about possibly adding that feature to MerchDar.
Yep, it's on our roadmap. We'll have a tagging system. Currently, internally we're calling it smart tags. We got some kind of automations and stuff with it where it'll automatically tag items, so like campaigns just based on certain factors. But so that is in the plan. So there'll be some cool stuff that'll be implemented with that, with recipes as well. So another heads up for anybody watching this. So what's on the table?
There's lots of things that say, like in the ad console, in targeting, you can't filter through portfolios, which I
stopped using portfolios. Are you using portfolios currently?
So what I did is I put all of my promotions campaigns into a single portfolio, and then I added a tag to the title of every one of those.
Okay.
So I can on the targets page on ad console, because I like to apply suggested bids sometimes, like bulk, and then say decrease those in bulk by a percentage.
Okay.
And so to do that, I couldn't do it through MerchDar yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
You're right.
Not yet. Roadmap.
I'm expecting that we will. It was a huge pain in the butt. Going through, I think it was 415 ads, and adding a tag to every single one of them. And I tried to do it.
What do you use as your tag? Is it like the ASIN or?
Well, no. So I created a specific tag for any campaign that was in a promotion.
Okay.
So it was just just 4 numbers.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad.
Never hate hearing that.
Yeah. And ad structure, not ad structure, a naming structure is huge, because when you first start out, I have no idea. I mean, I would type in like the first, say, 4 letters of the title, and then just call it that, and then just run it, and then you forget what you're looking for, or that sort of stuff. Obviously, like put the ASIN in that naming structure, a tag also, and obviously auto, or I'm doing everything, testing and performance and products now.
Well, on the naming structure, I'll just add on something while you're looking up the other. My 2 cents on that is just name it in a way where exactly what's inside that campaign and inside that ad group just by looking at it without having to open it up. So whatever you need to know. So ASIN you called out already. I think that's probably the most important. So you can just, especially when you want to go back and filter it and you want to see every
Yep.
campaign that an ASIN has that to it, you're just typing
Mhm.
that ASIN in or copy and pasting it from your product, and there you go. I would say that's the most important. But otherwise, yeah, like your targeting and what the goal is of the campaign. There's so many different ways to do it, but that's just like overall best practice. Just know what it is based on what that title is.
So another thing is start slow, and like you said, um, small changes over time, and really you need to kind of let the algorithm figure it out. The ads, like I said, the ad spend starts. I, I think people give up before it can actually figure out how to sell your stuff. And I understand it, because you see, you see, look, okay, on merch by Amazon, I made $500 this month, and my ad spend was 400, and the previous month I made $300 profit. But so like I'm losing money, but it takes sometimes it takes a little bit of time for it to figure out what sells and what doesn't, and I did a lot of that. Turn the ad on, run it for 3 days, and and then turn it off. And that just doesn't work. And you see a lot of that in the groups, and it's like I had this ad running.
Yeah, 5 clicks on it.
5 clicks, should I turn it off?
Yeah. And those 5 clicks were probably on 5 different search terms. So it's like, I don't know.
Right.
So I would say it's like that kind of boils down to make sure you're collecting enough data
Yeah.
before making a decision, which is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
I've harped a ton. And what that is, like, everyone's going to kind of have different thresholds for that. But the more you collect, the more data you have, just the better decision you can make on those campaigns.
The amount of data that you get is incredible. But if you could spend the time to go back and just study the data, like what's selling, what keywords are selling, that's the stuff that obviously should be moving through promotions to a manual campaign. But you can find great keywords for SEO there, great ideas for new t-shirt designs.
Yes,
there.
yes, that's something I think a lot of people aren't aware of, is all the different search term data you get. I mean, thousands. I mean, if you're spending the money on it, that's what you're spending the money on. And I've been able to create products. I see a search and I was like, didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So like some of my best sellers, or like my best seller is
You don't have to give it away.
No, I won't. It's not in a huge niche, and it does have copycats and stuff. But then, like, this is another thing I want to talk about, and I wanted to get your what do you call it, opinion on this.
Okay.
So the niche isn't huge, and it's doing really well. But I got some search terms. I was like, hey, that's a good idea for another one. But then what happens there? Am I diluting my
like competing
sales
against yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a chance of like cannibalism, I suppose, but I think it's such a small amount that I wouldn't be concerned with it.
Right.
I think one of the interesting new reports that Amazon has come out with, and they show a part of this in Ad Console, but it is the impression share report. So I don't even download search term reports, mostly because I'm using MergeStar. But if I want this data, which isn't available in the API yet, so we're waiting on it. As soon as it's available, we're going to be pulling it into MergeStar because it's really useful. But it tells you for a search term. So let's say it's, I don't know, beer T-shirt. What percentage of impressions your account is capturing? So if you're only getting 5% of the total impressions on this search term, there's a lot of room to work with.
You got a
and
lot
it's
more
very
money
it's very eye-opening. So
Yeah.
This is in your report section. So anyone doing this, go into where you download all your search term reports and stuff. And it's the search term impression share. It's pretty new.
That's cool.
And it has all the same data as the search term. I don't think there's any data that's missing, but it gives you your impression share, but it also gives you your rank versus every other advertiser. So you'll be able to see I'm ranked number one. So for this search term, so I'm getting more impressions than anyone else. I'm getting 50% of the impressions. So even someone that's like number one, you're still not getting every impression that's delivering.
Right.
So I think a useful way to see like, hey, there's room to grow here, either by increasing bids on this
Mhm.
search term, like I'm only getting 5%, let's try to capture more of this market share here, and I'm only ranked, 20th or whatever that looks like.
Right.
Where if you're like ranked number one, it's like, well, I don't really need to increase bids, I've already got it. But the other way you can capture market share is just by creating more products to target that search term. You can get more impressions across your entire product catalog. So as far as like that cannibalism, I think that's a pretty small, like, I wouldn't be too concerned with that. And when it comes to like bids, if you have two different campaigns targeting the same search term, Amazon's not going to let you bid against each other. You're not going to have like,
Right.
oh, I have $1 bid here and a $1.20 bid here, but it's 20 cents, so they're just going to keep racking
Yeah,
up. They don't
running
do
up.
that.
Yeah.
They won't do that. And that's pretty easy to test if you wanted to test it out for anybody. But yeah, you don't have to worry about that. So that kind of reminds me too, like just this whole impression share for anyone that isn't advertising yet or is pretty new to it and is kind of just getting started. And impressions is the first thing you get. That's kind of like the highest level of data, top of funnel. And that's an impression is anybody that sees your ad, like they type it in, like your ad appeared. That's an impression. And I think what's really eye opening, and it was for me, is just how many impressions it takes just to get one click
Yeah.
on your product.
Mhm.
And it's an average click through rate. So how many clicks it takes for it's clicks divided by impressions is your click through rate. It's around like 0.3%. So that means for every 1,000 people that see your product,
Right.
only 30 people are clicking on it.
Yeah.
Is that right? Like I think
Nah,
that's the
I
right
think it's
math.
less than that.
Is that
It's like,
okay? I'm gonna pull up my calculator. I'm always like bad at this stuff. 1,000 times 0.003, right? That's 0.3%. Three. That's only 3 clicks.
three.
So I was
Yeah,
off by an order of magnitude. That's
Yeah.
only out of 1,000 people that see your product, your ad,
Yeah.
and this goes for organic too. You can relate this to organic too, because it's going to be the same, probably less, because especially if you're like down further on the page, you're not getting as many clicks. Only 3 people clicked on it.
Yeah.
Out of 3 people clicking on your ad, like how many people are actually going to buy out of that?
Right.
Probably not those 3 people. When you look at like conversion rates, which that's another eye-opening thing, someone that's not running ads, you don't have this data available to you. You don't know how, at least for merch and KDP, I think Seller Central
Right.
might have some ways to calculate that, but a good conversion rate is probably, I would say 10% is a good conversion rate, and you can be profitable lower than that, of course. So that means it takes 10 clicks to get one order on average. So out of 1,000 people, I mean, you need far more people seeing your ad. So that was eye-opening for me. And I kind of, the Facebook groups you already see is like, well, I can't find my product, or, my product's showing, but I'm not getting sales. It's like, you need a boatload of people to see this stuff.
To see it and click on it. Yeah.
And click on it. Like there's a
Right.
lot of hoops to go through just to get that one sale.
Right.
And the other eye-opening side of that is just how much freaking traffic there is on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like how many shoppers there are. It's mind-boggling. And that's
For
why
each search term too, you're like, really?
yeah, absolutely. And then all those different search terms that your product's targeting, like that you're indexing for, so like what your product's appearing for, all adds up.
It's so just say like you have the search term showing up, I don't know, funny fishing shirt, right? And say you got, I don't know, 3,000 impressions that day, and you got a minuscule amount of the traffic was searching that term that day, but you still got 3,000, your ad shown to 3,000 people. I mean,
Probably still didn't get a sale based on that number of impressions, but
yeah, it's pretty broad.
But that's how much traffic, and you're also like, because an impression, like there's other people getting impressions too. You're showing on a page of how many are on a page, like 20. How many
48.
are on a page? 48.
Yeah.
And you got your 4 ads at the top that are probably getting half of the clicks.
Yeah.
Because more people click on the top, and it just goes down. And it's
Right.
exponential. Just how many more clicks that has too. But yeah, just some really eye-opening things when you start paying for this data, because it is pay to play. Like Amazon's not just handing this out for free, but
Right.
they give you a ton of it when you're paying for it.
Well, it gives you a roadmap.
That's true.
It really
it does.
It's just like, hey, this is working. This isn't working. It gives you 2 different roadmaps. It gives you or for me, a design roadmap, because I'm just like, hey, this type of design is getting this amount of impressions, but this many clicks and sales, as opposed to this other type of design.
Yeah.
And then it also gives you like the keyword search term SEO roadmap as well. It's crazy.
Or you might see that it's appearing for search terms like, man, I don't have any of these keywords in my listing.
Right.
Let's get some of those in there and maybe
So
kind of
do you
push
do
some
that?
of that.
Do you?
I do. I have. Yeah, I do. Usually towards my best-selling product. Like, I'm not going through every single, hundreds of thousands of products to do that, but I have updated some of my best sellers to put in keywords to rank for specific search terms. Where if I'm trying to rank for, something and I use tools like Helium 10 to kind of see where I'm ranking at.
Right.
So there, I will do that if I want to. There's a specific search term. It's like, hey, I'm trying to bump that rank. I'm gonna put it at the first half of my title, which your title has the most SEO juice, sends the strongest signal to Amazon to rank this product.
But
the first half of that title is even more.
Just say you have one of your best sellers that's been selling well for 2 years, and would you go?
I have
change the title.
I have. Yep. So and Amazon. Now there is risk with this. So you need to be very careful, specifically with Amazon, just the way a takedown. So I don't do it a ton. I will say. So you'll have to weigh the risks, and you want to be very careful that you're not triggering any of the rejections. So maybe depending on the time of year, what's happening with the rejection, what's going on. So, but yeah, that is a strategy. I'd love for merch to have a little bit more transparency with that sort of thing where, before you're submitting, because I don't think Amazon wants to take down a product that's making them hundreds of thousands of dollars either.
It doesn't make any sense. No.
No. So it's kind of a, weigh your risk. But if you're selling on other platforms, maybe it's not as risky with Seller Central or whatever to get a product listed again and not lose all your reviews and so forth. But that's one strategy.
I've been very wary of touching anything in any of my best sellers.
No, I will say it's just ads, a risk side of things. Not I'm not worried about losing rank on stuff I'm already selling for. Amazon's not going to derank your product because now that keyword is not in your title. Because same thing, like you're sending the other signals. They only care about the sales. If you're getting sales, you're getting conversions on this search term. Just because it's not in the title, it's not going to just like, well, we're going to take this down. Because the same way that you get sales on search terms with keywords in it that don't appear in your listing whatsoever, because Amazon figured that out through the algorithm or whatever.
Well, I think it comes from before me running ads. You really kind of feel powerless to put your shirt in front of people. And so, like, if I had a shirt that was getting in front of people, I was pretty much like, I don't know why, it's getting in front of people, because it's the same kind of keyword structure that I use pretty much for everything. But some of them just work. And then
that's the black box. That's the Amazon black box for sure, and no one knows. And it's the same thing. Like we were talking about, like how many impressions and clicks it takes to get like sales. Amazon's not showing the same product list to every single person that shows up. So like when someone hey, I typed in my title and it doesn't appear, it's like, okay, you're one data point out of thousands. They're going to base it on the device you're on, time of day, all this data they have about their customers and their users, and there's probably some kind of product rotation, and that's highly speculated that they do. Especially when a product's new, they have like a honeymoon period. No one really knows with merch, and so all this is speculation.
Right.
So I mean, that doesn't. You want to get your product in front of people, run an ad to it. You will for sure get it in front of people.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's kind of like what I was saying before. Is I don't really care about a tier up now, because I have 12,000 slots that I can fill and run ads to 12,000 new things, and it's just a boost. It's invaluable, really. And before, you just kind of, I really felt like just throwing stuff at the wall, see what stuck, and sometimes you get lucky, and most of the time you don't. But
yeah, or you lose, or you do get lucky, and hey, this is doing well. Then all of a sudden it doesn't anymore. You don't have a way to protect your ranking at all. Absolutely. If it goes through a slump, okay, Amazon's going to replace it with something else. Amazon only cares what you've done for them lately. They don't care
Right. Right.
about a month ago. And there's probably some like waiting and stuff like that. Again, Amazon black box with the algorithm, but they care about what you sold in the last day, couple hours, not last week, last month, last year. So
Right.
if you start losing rank, there's a snowball effect, and it's sales velocity is what a lot of people call it. It works both ways. So that's kind of where like the more sales you get, where Amazon rewards you with a higher rank, which gives you more traffic, which gives you more sales and more traffic. That's that snowball effect.
Yep.
And it works the exact same way in the other direction too, where if you start losing rank, it can just fall off a cliff very quickly. So, and that's where another area that ads can really help protect your listing against your competitors, especially as
Right.
more and more people run advertising too. I mean, as much as people hate to hear it, we're in the world of pay to play with Amazon, just straight up. I
Yep.
mean, it's not going back. And this isn't new. Like every other platform, Seller Central, all these other product sellers, it's been pay to play for years. And merch is now in that same boat. And there's no sense of pride of like, well, I don't run ads. Like I got this without ads. Like this is a business. Like there's no pride
Right.
in not making money.
Yeah. Again, but so they've given you the opportunity to put your product in front of people, and it's,
It's the easiest way to do it.
It
I mean,
is.
like you said it earlier. Every single business has to advertise and
Yeah.
market their products.
Mhm.
There's very few that can get away with not doing that. And if they aren't, honestly, you're just leaving money on the table. I mean, if you're
Right.
selling a good product, why wouldn't you invest in that to get it in front of people? But I
Yeah.
will say, I guess that ties into is like advertising doesn't make up for a bad product too. If you have a bad product, it's not gonna, perform miracles.
Right. 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 Absolutely. Another thing is you can get your new design up, and you can get it getting sales within a few days sometimes,
Hmm.
which typically it's what, like 3 months or something. So
Probably on average, yeah. I don't know what the
yeah.
average like time to first sale kind of thing is, what that looks like these days, and that's
It's
just probably getting longer and longer the
yeah,
more
I'm sure it is.
saturated it gets.
Yeah, yeah. But it's so you can confidently research something, design something, put it up, wait,
Validate it
wait the few hours, and then start running ads to it, and then validate it, like you said, almost
right
immediately.
away. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So one last question: you had a
Yep.
lot of success last year, and you've grown considerably. How
Mhm.
has your success on Amazon changed your life, or just your plans for your future?
Um, realistically, it showed me that I don't really have to rely on like a day job completely. I do, but I don't have to. And before this, it was, well, obviously I'm going to work till I'm 65 and then retire and do that. Well, that's not really the
American dream.
plan anymore. I'd like to, like a lot of people have been saying this year, semi-retire in the next few years from my day job and just do this full time. And like I said, I love it. It's a blast for me to do it. I enjoy the designing. I even enjoy like going through the ad data and stuff. Just reading all that stuff, because
I'm a data nerd too. I love it. So all
yeah,
the graphs and charts and Excel sheets, I love it.
yeah,
I I think that's amazing. Like that is like very much a goal for a lot of people, and like being able to see that light at the end of the tunnel, almost like, hey, this is possible. Like putting in the work to keep growing this business until you can get to that point. Um, and just the growth you've had over year has been incredible. Do you think that's still possible for anyone getting into I guess merch by Amazon, or just on a whole Amazon itself? Is that still possible to make that happen?
the worst part is they don't give you ads at the beginning, so it's I I don't think I could do it. I mean, starting out, what do they give you? 10 designs,
Yeah.
and then what are
Buy
you
your
going to do?
hundred. That's
Yeah.
honestly not a bad idea. That's pretty good advice, I'd say, for
Well,
anybody getting started, or hustling to sell them somehow, not relying
I
on
look at it like
organic.
this. So look, I can spend the 12, or let's say, what is it now, 1307, I
Yeah, I
can
think so,
spend,
something like
I,
that.
I
I
can
haven't
spend,
priced one at that for a
right,
long
right.
time, but
So I can spend $1,300, right, and sell 100, and then you're at like tier 500, right? And people always say, "Oh, they don't tier you up right away." Well, for the most part, they do. Um, and then you're at tier 100, and well, like nowadays, tier 100's really low. If they gave you ads at 100, that would really
I have
help.
heard of people at tier 100 getting access to ads. So I mean, my prediction. So this is a Cameron Scott prediction. They're going to roll out ads, I think, to everybody at some point.
Yeah, why
Just
not?
like KDP and Seller Central, you get access to ads right away.
Right.
So I don't see why they wouldn't do that. They're leaving money on the table, and I think everyone knows Amazon doesn't leave money on the table, not
So
for very long, anyways.
true, but so the like I was saying, in my experience, I started September 1st, and I wanted to have as many designs up for Q4 because I didn't want to wait a whole another year. And then, where was I going to be in that whole other year? Was I going to be at tier 25? When that
Right.
year came around, and so I was like, look, I'll spend the. And it was cheaper then. It was like because I think they were cheap. Yeah, they were cheaper because we made more money per sale
Mm.
back then. We made like $7 and something cents.
Yeah, that was before I jumped on. It was, I mean, it was like 550 or whatever it was. They've only done one price decrease. I started in early 2018, so it was just one
Mm.
price decrease that I ended up going through. So they've maintained it at least for a couple
Yeah, I
years
know.
now, which has been
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. I would hope that they would keep it like this. But you can sit at tier 10 for a year, and how much money are you losing at that point?
Yeah,
You know?
opportunity cost.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. I mean, and so you put up your 10 designs, and then what? You just wait for a year to get to 25, and it just made no sense to me. And it's like I'll spend the $1,200, and then thankfully I made more than that Q4,
Hmm.
and then I was in a prime slot early in merch when they were just kind of starting up to be able to grow my account relatively quickly for me, relatively slow compared to a lot of other people. But I've what my total sales now are like 27,400 total sales, and
Unit
over a lot.
sales, total units.
Yeah, and
Okay.
over $132,000 in royalties, which 50 of that was last year.
Right, like that's like incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
that's so like people are talking about wanting to have a car payment or whatever. It's like, why don't you just buy a car? Like that's the
right.
kind of money you could have, and much more. I mean, the potential is enormous, and not just with merch, but just the potential of selling on Amazon in general. It's not like just merch. Like we do merch, but all this stuff we're talking about applies to every single product on Amazon. All these strategies,
Yeah,
advertising. But I think you hit on a really good point just by buying them out because there's a lot of different ways you could hustle and sell t-shirts locally to sports teams or
right.
local clubs. Or that's actually
Yeah.
how I got out of it, was to a t-shirt to a school with, and a bunch of teachers bought it and
Hmm.
got tiered up to 500. So same result, but
Right.
at the end of the day is we didn't rely on that organic traffic
Yeah.
to get those sales, because we just
Mhm.
talked about how many eyeballs you need on a product to get one click to get one sale. I mean, you're talking
Right.
about hundreds of thousands, and
And when you
when you
only
only got
have
10
10,
products,
10 products, yeah.
you don't even
Yeah.
know if they're probably good products at that point because you just
Right.
don't have the
Yeah, you don't
experience. And,
know.
and maybe you do, like if you're a designer or
My
whatever. But
first 10 were not.
even still, even if you're a designer or whatever, I'm going to make amazing artwork. You
Right.
probably still don't know what sells on Amazon because, one, you don't have the data. I mean, you
Right.
just don't until you're getting the advertising. It's the only way to get that data.
Yeah. One other thing that you touched on there, we're all worried about losing our accounts, right?
Hmm.
Our merch by Amazon accounts, and learning advertising gives you hope for if unfortunately that day does come, you can take everything that you learned to sell something else.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really good point.
Mhm.
I'll sleep at night finally thinking
Yeah.
about that.
Right.
But I mean, I'd say the other point too with it is like treating it as an investment and not just like hoping and praying that you get these sales, but treat this as an investment. And we've kind of talked about that throughout
Yeah. Mhm.
this interview as well. But Andre, thanks so much for coming on. This has been absolutely amazing. I think a lot of insightful topics has come up here. So thank you so much for being on. This was absolute pleasure.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. I enjoyed it.